Now I will start tuning the blade and roughing out the front part with the file. As you can see, I change the direction of cutting frequently. Don't worry about the hardened tip in the front, because the file will not cut into a hardened tip. As you can see, nothing happens when I move over the hardened chip. Only at the soft part of the blade body I can remove material with the file. You can still see the high spots at the area where the tip has contact with the blade body. Now move over to the back side and to rough out the file before moving over to the scrub. And I cross-check the straight edge. It's not necessary to have the whole surface flat, but at least the front half should be flat and straight. So really improvement achieved with the file. And now move over to a much finer file. Now it's time to start cleaning up the sides. Cleaning out the slot. Using a triangular scraper to clean out the board. The other side as well. Now I remove the burr with the scraper I used before to scrap the sole. it's better to do that with a scraper instead of a file, because it could cause damage to the teeth of your file if you use that for removing burr. Only if you have an old file which you just use for that purpose, you should use a file for this operation. That's the situation after the file operation. You can see there's a mark from the forging, but that's not so important. Now it's time to touch the back part and scrap it to a higher accuracy, because I want to use it as master to tune up the mouth in the next step. I already did some scrapping cuts, as you can see, and the blue color in the front is good enough, so it would be really okay the way you can see it right now. But for the purpose of this video and to give you a better imagination why scrapping is such an important technique, I will improve that with some more passes with the scrapper. Again on the touching blade. Usually I will clamp the touching blade into a vise with a wooden block, fixed very softly with a blade, but for easier filming and not always to need to readjust the camcorder, I keep it visible by just laying it on the top of the bench. Okay, one more time. And now you can leave it. We have contact points up to the half of the blade, and this is really far better than actually needed, but it makes the tune-up of the mouth much easier. Now it's time to start working on the tip, and before I actually hone the blade, to make it flat and then give it a mirror image. Most of the time before I start using my stones, I use two stones of similar type and rub them together to keep the stones flat and sharp. This reduces the maintenance time for your stones intensively. To make the honing process easier, I clamp the blade against a wooden block, in this case a piece of plywood, which is not as wide as the blade itself, so you have the chance to move the block, so you can put pressure specifically on a specific area if this is necessary for the blade, for the progress of your work. But as you can see, I have to take out material in the middle, so I keep the wooden block in the middle of the back. With the aid of the block you can give much more pressure to the stone, and your work and the progress of your work will be much faster. Now I move over to the Arkansas stone to start with the polish. And after that I use my Belgium stone for the final polish. Give it some water. I'm using the ionized water of my dehumidifier. Now the final honing step, I'm using my fingers and not the wooden block anymore. Now I can see a mirror image on the tip blade. Now I'm checking my grinding wheel for cracks. If there would be a hair crack in it, you will hear a damp sound instead of a clean one. I start up with a broken piece of silicon carbide to give the stone a really cylindrical shape. And after that I will rough out the surface. It breaks out crystals so that the grinding wheel will not burn. Now I show the hollow grinding of the blade without any aid. Usually in this part of the video you can really speed up or cut it, because there's no Hollywood entertainment to see in here. But I don't like to do that because I want to show you that you can grind many minutes without interruption, without dipping it into cold water, if you keep your grinding wheel clean and sharp. You need some practice to stay in the grinding wheel groove, but it really is not something magic, it's just a matter of practice. And as you can see, even after some minutes of grinding without interruption, I can still touch the front part of the blade without burning my fingers. And if the blade centers itself on the grinding wheel, and only very little pressure should be given to the blade, there's no water grinding wheel needed or interruption by cooling. You can really stay in the groove until the sparks start to flow over the blade edge, and the rest has to be done by hand later on. And as you can see now, the sparks start to flow over the edge. I lost the center a little bit, so I have to give it some more. And anyway, the blade will not be burned, and that's the most important part. And as you can see, I can grind many minutes in one go without interruption, and still can touch the front of the blade without burning my fingers. Now this operation is ready. As you can see, the rest has to be done on bench size by hand. The fluid I used is lamp oil. We refer to it here as petroleum. And now I actually start sharpening the blade. And very quickly, as you can see, I got two flat surfaces, and now I can move over to a finer stone. In this case, my Belgium. A little bit of water, and then improve the sharpness. And a little bit on the mirror side to remove the burr. If you like, you can use a piece of leather to improve the polish. Now it's to cutting check, and as you can see, I can shave myself. And so the blade is ready for use.